Only the coward and the strong survive. If you feel like you're not good enough, if you have constant feelings of inferiority, then it's a very high chance that you have an inferiority complex. Inferiority complex is when nature pushes feelings of inferiority into you as a result of nature considering your position in the hierarchy as a low position. It's an internal defensive mechanism that wants to protect you because nature truly thinks you're inferior. And if you were to lay your hands on alphas women or just be a dick to people, consequentially you'd be killed. But it's also an external mechanism that makes sure that, since you're weak, your genes will not pass on by pushing feelings of insecurity, inferiority, submissiveness, emotionality into your psyche. Because if you have those traits, you will not be successful with women. These traits are inherently feminine traits. So in a sense, the inferiority complex works by making you adopt feminine traits. But do you know who likes inferior, weak, miserable men? Women who gave birth. After an alpha gives a sausage ride to a woman, obviously he won't stay around and take care of his children. He'll keep fucking other women. This is why during pregnancy, and after giving birth in the wall, a woman's attraction will shift towards soy. Feminine men who will actually stay around look after another man's children. You can be productive to the tribe, but you can't reap the fruits of what you sow. Your genes will not pass on, you won't be happy, your life will be crippled. But at least you get to live, huh? So you're a cuck without being a cuck. This is an insult. This means you will have the responsibility, but not the authority and the rewards that come with it. You're made the beta bucks in the statement alpha fucks and beta bucks. You're almost as low in the hierarchy as homosexuals and cuckolds. But you will have a higher chance of reproduction than them since the system wants percentage of the males to be beta at any time. Who is better than your children to be a provider to other women? Symptoms. Here are some symptoms of the inferiority complex. Feeling inferior, maybe to an extent that you don't even see yourself as a human, like how narcissists think the opposite. Depends on how severe it is. Constantly seeking the validation of other people. Being submissive. You prefer your partner to be dominant in sex. A constant urge to prove yourself. An overwhelming sense of responsibility. Attraction to bad women. Attraction to motherly women. Feelings of inferiority could come in very different forms. For example, a beautiful girl may be afraid of being bland and boring, and that may be her insecurity. Because of that, she may seek recompensation in other stuff, like studying. For example, an ugly girl, when she becomes aware that she's ugly, she also becomes aware if she can't change the fact that she is ugly. Because of that, she may seek recompensation in other stuff, like studying. But for most men, inferiority has got a lot more to do with sexuality. A beautiful girl and even an ugly girl can get their hands on a relationship whenever they want. But in high school, a male, especially with an inferiority complex, can't. So even if he is good at his studies, he will not be recompensating with that. He'll try to recompensate it with relationships, with affection from women, and he will be a simp. That will affect his studies too. This is the reason why women, on average, are more successful than men in schools. But it's always men who are at the top. So in any given hierarchy, percent 20 of men are at the top who can be considered the alpha of that hierarchy. Women and other men come after the alphas. Also, this is why even the most famous, most successful chefs are men. I'll bet that even the most successful knitter is a buff dude somewhere out there. Man greater than woman greater than child. And people with an inferiority complex are a mix of a woman and a child. Not exactly a man, since they lack validation like their children. And insecure and submissive like women. Also, I should also say that I've seen a lot of young men who were acquainted with TRP saying that they had a desire to explain TRP to other people and correct them. This is not because they want other people to learn about TRP, this is because these men are feeling inferior. And they want to be complimented, validated, praised, and TRP becomes a safe haven for this in their minds. It's not TRP is true, it's I am true. If you have this, don't do it. Reasons. Here are some possible reasons for the inferiority complex. Getting bullied. Abusive parents. Narcissistic, sociopathic parents. Absent parents. Getting fucked over by a woman. Big failure. Trauma. Most of the time parents who are grandiose narcissists will put down their children to feel better. And since they're narcissists, their expectations of the children will be very high. It's like they're the best on the planet, and when their children don't deliver good results, It will cause the narcissist to question their superiority, and this will cause them to blow up at the children out of confusion. Most of the time, confusion creates feelings of anger in narcissists. Sociopaths will not love their children, so a child might start thinking that they're not worth loving. And there you go. Inferiority complex. It's almost like a car crash. It may be one small event, but it does come with big consequences you may have to suffer throughout your life. That is if you're still alive, though. Most of the time, people I see with an inferiority complex have this disorder because of a mix of the first four reasons, but your body can rarely see what you've gone through a trauma. People are not as self-aware or self-conscious as that. It's also the brain's one response to trauma, to not acknowledge it as trauma and coping with it like that. It was a small thing. It doesn't matter really lol. When it actually crippled them. Solution. The sad thing is, there is no solution. You can't cut this off completely from your psyche. From what I've seen, it's deeply and heavily engraved into the psyche. Most trauma is like that. Feelings of inferiority helped you form all of your opinions on the world. When you take the inferiority out, a lot of the other stuff has to come out too. Right now you might be thinking that you weren't loved by your parents because you were an unsuccessful child. When you learn that it was actually their fault and not yours, this may cause a great deal of stress to you. This is only one example. But imagine what would have happened if this happened to every single of your opinions. Everything would change, and eventually, you could even fall into imposter syndrome because of how your feelings. Opinions. Memories don't align exactly. Although keep in mind that this is highly hypothetical. Some things you have to live with. Some things you can't recover from. At most, you can fight with it so that feelings of inferiority will reduce to a point that it feels like you no longer have them. But on a worse day when you relapse, they will come back. I've heard from some that they have become functional after therapy. But the methodology of therapy rarely helps in situations like these. They were really rare cases where they also really put in the work to not let this cripple their lives, but what I'm talking about is like 1 in 1,000 cases. That said, if you still want to go take the route of therapy, you should make sure that it's a male and masculine therapist. One quick way to know if they're masculine is to look at their photos and see if they lift. A therapist who knows what they're doing will lift weights. It's not a very good way to go with it, but masculine therapists will also tend to offer their services, especially for ex-army, ex-cop people. This might help you too. Testosterone. Feelings of inferiority are just feelings. So one way to solve this is to reduce the effects of your feelings on you. This is a general approach. You're not taking out the inferiority, but you choose to eliminate your feelings from the root. So any feeling that you have won't have much effect on you. So you're choosing to acknowledge their existence and then control them. We're totalities. Emotion is a feminine trait. Logic is a masculine trait. Testosterone is the primary sex hormone of men. So the less testosterone you have, the more feminine you will be. And thus more emotional you will be. More emotional means that your feelings of inferiority will also increase. So first and foremost, before anything, you need to have high testosterone. Most men, even after lifting, don't have enough testosterone. So at that point, you may choose testosterone replacement therapy as a potential solution. Around 1,000 is good. I've been there, and to me, below 700 seemed like it was an amount that didn't make me feel that much better. Conquer your feelings with your logic. Meditation. When we are tired, we are attacked by ideas we conquered long ago. Friedrich Nietzsche. Feelings of inferiority are increased by stress and other bad emotions. To make sure that you stay on your mission, reduce stress, and induce serenity, meditation is a very good way. There's clear evidence that it's effective. To meditate, just set an alarm and sit somewhere quiet. Close your eyes and focus on your breath. Your thoughts should flow, they should not be restricted. So don't force yourself into focusing on your breath. When ideas come, let them pass. And make your breath your focus again. Make sure that you do it right. This helps you find inner validation. When I started with 2 by 15. Day and night, 15 minutes each. Now I do own a -2 hours every day. Sometimes I wake up during sunrise and meditate. Makes me feel like nothing else. Recognizing the problem. If someone has an inferiority complex and knows why he has it and what it is, then he can try to revert it by taking out the symptoms. Over time, when you carry out the symptoms, it only enforces what your psyche thinks. It enforces the fact that you're a loser even harder. It's a vicious cycle. Figure out what this is making you do, and do the exact opposite. Does someone cut you in line? Someone with an inferiority complex would think that they should let him do it and do nothing. Instead, pull a knife and stab the guy in the back a few times, while screaming, "I'm not inferior to you, stupid fuck." Or if you want to resolve it peacefully, you can just tell him to pull out of the line and go to the back. Just kidding, but know why you do what you do, and proceed accordingly. Ask yourself the question, will this make me feel inferior? Is this something an inferior person does? If yes, then don't do it. If no, you can do it. Also, you might force yourself to do things that an inferior person wouldn't do. Go cold approach a woman, go be assertive, go be an asshole when it's necessary. Also, I would say that cutting off social media and porn. Also, reading No More Mr. Nice Guy would help this tremendously.